In the next few minutes, I'm going to be showing you why you are clicking on certain thumbnails and what's currently working right now. And some of the biggest creators that you're watching are using these tactics. Ultimately, this means for you that you can get more leads and ultimately get more buyers by just focusing on the thumbnail. It's the 80-20 of everything. I'm going to be breaking down the 3 simple steps how to really go about thinking about this and prioritizing this, because this does come first. So let's get into it. Now, ultimately, these are a few people. We have all watched them. We have Hermosi over here. We have Sanchez over here. And then we have Haynes over here. Now, all these have all been outliers on their channel. And the biggest thing I like, and let's kind of draw it out here, is ultimately their future pacing, what to expect in the video. So when it comes to thumbnails, and we're going to talk about this more in depth. When it comes to thumbnails, not only are you being, not only are you driving curiosity, but you're also trying to, with as much detail, but being as simple as possible, showing what the video is going to be about. I know that sounds super. I know you already know that, but let's kind of break that down. What that means. So some of the best thumbnails, what they do really well is again future pace the video. So let's just break down Hermosi's real quickly. So obviously we have a face. Now this is classic. Advertising faces obviously sell better. So if we have someone that's happy there, that's already enticing, and then we have Hermosi doing this little grin here. More importantly, though, we have a full breakdown so that the consumer understands this is the full thing. So if you have something like this, or you're a business owner, which again a lot of his audience is, you're going to get the full breakdown of 1, weekend pricing, of 2, partnerships, of 3, the upsell, and then ultimately this is going to lead to profit. And this is kind of the things we're going to be going down. Now, a lot of it obviously is left or right, but they are being very deliberate about this full breakdown here. A lot of thumbnails, again, will start from left to right, obviously. And then obviously colors, all right? So I'm going to do a full masterclass on thumbnails, not in this video. That's coming shortly. But if you look at very contrasting colors, if you look on the color wheel, a lot of these are polar opposites, okay? Like this is a beautiful job here by Cody's team, and it really stands out. Now, this was a massive outlier on her channel. Yes, the topic does matter, and I believe they were switching out thumbnails quite rapidly, which we're also going to talk about. How many thumbnails should you be making per video? So let's take Hermosi's again. We have a blue background. We have white writing, which you can see, yellow, and it's kind of, he does a lot of these colors, and then profit in yellow standing out. One thing to mention is with your thumbnail, you have to be careful. This is a bit of a pro tip here. This timestamp, a lot of people, as you will see, they have thumbnails, and usually they have a lot of writing down here, and the timestamp is going to cover that up. So what you want to be careful is you either want to have an object like Cody here, right, where it doesn't really matter that this is being covered up because this is not that important. With profit here, you have to be careful as well. If it was smaller, they probably would move it up a little bit, okay? And originally they probably did have to move it up a little bit, and then they were fine with just having some of this covered up. For here, obviously, this is kind of, nothing's really here, but you will see, and you'd be shocked, this timestamp. Everyone's trying to be creative, with the last word that they use, and the timestamp's covering it up. So you gotta be careful about this timestamp. Moving on. So Sanchez here, obviously we're using yellow, very great color to use. We have bright orange, and again faces. Mr. Beast, what he was trying, I believe, was he would change his thumbnail to like a very, I think it was like a mad face. And then he would open up his mouth, and it just showed. Obviously, the more you can emote, the better you are going to get that click, that CTR. Now, it is important to mention, very important to mention, should you be focusing on clickbait stuff, right? So should you be really trying to just be clickbaity, hey, I'm going to show you how to make $1 million, and then the video is not really about that. I like what Mr. B says, and Hormozi kind of runs with this as well. Is that you want to be? There's kind of a fine line that you're kind of towing. It's number one. It's create as much of a clickbait thumbnail as possible while still walking the truth. Okay, so if it said here $5 million, right? So if Hormozi's here, if it said $5 million, that'd be clickbait, and it would be a lie. Well, I don't know if she made $5 million, but you get my point. So we say profit, which still, and it's very vague, right? So you want to, a lot of these thumbnails also are very vague. You have somewhat of an idea, because then your consumer, your viewer can imagine, right? So profit can mean $2, it can mean $10 million. You have no idea, but where you're at in life will kind of dictate what you think the profit is. So it's a cool way about about doing it. But let's kind of get into the ICP. So the ICP will dictate what type of thumbnail and how unique or how sophisticated the thumbnail needs to be. All right. So if you are in a sophisticated market, a sophisticated niche, you're gonna have to start doing stuff like Hormozi. Now, a lot of people right now, this is kind of the landscape of YouTube. Right now, a lot of people are getting away with Miro board thumbnails, right? So we're actually starting to see a contrast effect taking place. For instance, this kind of Sam Sulek, a fitness influencer, kind of started a wave or introduced to the market very relaxing videos, right? Everything was kind of high paced, cuts, edits, all this stuff. And then Sam Sulek came along, and now it's just 45 minutes. It's an hour long, and you've been starting to see that a lot too. And you should definitely incorporate very long videos into your strategy. Nonetheless, you can have simple thumbnails. You can still have simple thumbnails, but still convey these important elements, right? So curiosity, scroll stopping, colors, right? Like all these things can still be in your thumbnail, yet you don't have to pay $300 or hundreds of dollars to get your thumbnail done, all right? But ultimately, it comes back to your ICP. So if your ICP is heavily aware, heavily sophisticated, then you need to have at least the idea, right? So you got to have an intriguing idea, title, right? And that has to be showcased kind of on the thumbnail. So your ICP is going to kind of dictate whether you can just post a Miro board with, just this, or if it has to be a bit more sophisticated and it has to be more thought into it. I will say this, if you are planning and you're spending hours on the actual content production of the filming, of the scripting, and you are not spending at least half of that or more on your thumbnail, on the title, on those two things, it's backwards. 80-20 of this whole content thing is your thumbnail first. And again, you want to walk that line between clickbait and truth. Okay, and they do it very well, all these creators and others, of course. But again, your ICP will dictate kind of where you go about putting it out, okay? And then again, like I said, topic. So topic is super important. Again, this VSL funnel did really well because it was kind of, everyone's kind of running a VSL funnel. And then this is kind of unique. Now, he's doing lives now, which is very cool, but these full breakdowns, it just, again, provides so much insight, okay? And everyone's kind of, everyone wants to hold their cards, right? They don't want to show anything, and he's kind of breaking it all down, which is fantastic. A lot of value, right? So what you want to do is your topic matters. Again, you want to spend hours coming up with cool, creative topics. These were all really good topics, okay? And that will help with thumbnail. Now, here's the thing as well. If the topic does not fit the thumbnail, you're not going to make it. Depending on what niche you're in. Okay, so if you're in a very sophisticated market and you can't really think about the thumbnail, it's going to be tricky making a very compelling video. Because again, if you can't automatically picture the thumbnail or you can't create a thumbnail around the topic, I would maybe suggest don't do the video, right? A lot of business owners, a lot of you, that's totally fine. You don't have to really, some of it applies. Other, you'll probably just post something, um, but you want to think, can I make a compelling thumbnail out of this topic? Very important. All right. Lastly, the text stack. So obviously with AI, we're going to go deep into AI in coming videos. But it's a very simple tech stack. Now you can usually I'm using Slack for communications. There was another video I did, basically the YouTube production. I use ClickUp for kind of task management and for like the flow of everything. And then if you don't want to use Slack, you can use Fiverr or whatever. It kind of messages the designer. If you do have a designer or have a team, if you don't have a team, Nana Banana will do just fine. ChatGPT will do just fine. I will say the quality is dependent on the prompt you give it. So it's there. You can actually do lots with just these tools, ChatGPT, Gemini, Nana Banana. For $20-$30, you can get very high quality grade things. And specifically, if you're in business, again, you don't necessarily need these type of thumbnails. You just need to start bringing in a lot of these elements that these bigger individuals are using. Okay, because if you're going to tell me Hormozi is going to come on and do an hour-long video, it's a lot of bandwidth for the individual, a lot of bandwidth for Hormozi, and you think they don't care about the thumbnail, you're wrong. So they spend probably more time thinking about the thumbnail and planning and all this before this even takes place. Okay, so these are thumbnails that are actually working. Now, also, side note, pro tip. Again, so one, you want to future pace the thumbnail, right? So we're future pacing into day 9. Haynes is future pacing the whole thing, and he's obviously future pacing the full breakdown as well. Future pacing works. That's why the side by side or before and after works, because the viewer can feel like they're already part of this story. Okay, so future pacing works really well. And if you are in business, showcasing the actual thing. So if you're going to showcase a funnel, show the funnel and then your face. Again, maybe emoting, maybe not. All these type of things help. But basically, the biggest takeaway of today's video is that 80-20. I want you focusing more on the thumbnail, more on the title, more on the idea and how to provide value, right? So there's kind of a new metric taking place that a lot of people are talking about, value per second, which I believe was from Hormozi's team, Caleb. How much value can you deliver per second? All right, I'm trying to work on that myself. But those are some thumbnails that are working. More visuals work better. Just know what's your ICP wanting. What are they curious about? What's kind of their fears? How do I elaborate? How do I kind of deliver that? What's the topic? Focus on the top title, and then the tech stack's super easy. Again, you can probably just use ChatGPT at this point just to get some ideas. Now, when it comes to thumbnails, I like to have at least 3. Again, 2 are very, very, very much of a contrast. So if I'm, doing, let's just do this full breakdown here. Maybe he has one that's a full breakdown, and then maybe he has one that just kind of shows a specific portion and then the elements of that step. So I want basically, I like to have 3 thumbnails. One obviously is just an idea. Another one is something I think will work, but again, they're polar opposites. There's no point in creating thumbnails and having them slightly different. It's not really going to do much. And then the winner, I will then try to get a third that's pretty much just slightly different, a little bit of tweaks here and there, which hopefully gives you the highest CTR. And again, there's tools. There's, I think 1 of 10 does it. There's view stats that kind of allow you to kind of now see which thumbnail is supposed to work. So that's kind of that. Take care. Hopefully that helps. Some of these thumbnails are golden, and you don't have to be, you don't have to be spending a lot of money on them, but it does help. So take care. Have a great day.